I'm Chef Dave Machado, the lawyer chef. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm really excited about today's episode because I'm going to make for you one of my childhood favorites. You're going to love it, and it's going to be fast. It's going to be a quick meal, 30 minutes or less. We're making good food fast here. So, what are we going to do? We're going to make what's called Picadillo. And Picadillo is a ground beef dish. It's very common and enjoyed in very many Latin American countries, Portugal, Spain, Cuba, Mexico, Brazil, Venezuela, Costa Rica, the Philippines, and much of the Caribbean. These are absolutely delicious dishes. I'm going to make the Cuban version, and they're typically served with rice and beans. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to get my rice going. One of the first things I did before I started filming is I rinsed out the rice. So it's important to rinse out the rice because you want to get rid of that starch. And I put it in the rice cooker. We could do it in a pot, but at the end of the day, we're trying to do this fast so that we can have a good meal for our family in a short amount of time. I know you're busy, and so am I. And if I can do this, I know you can too. So we've started the rice. What we're going to do is we're going to get the beans going. And I've used 2 cans of beans here. I'm going to show you in a minute. And I've used those, I'm just going to keep this dish here so that I can put stuff in it. But anyway, I used 2 of these El Ebro. You can find these on Amazon, most Latin markets, or world markets. You can find these. They're absolutely delicious. The reason why I use these, quite honestly, is because this is what my aunt uses, and they're absolutely fabulous. And I love cooking with these beans. They already have some chorizo in them. They have some pork belly in them. Gives it lots of flavor. And the only thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of onion and a little bit of yellow pepper. Typically, when we do picadillo, if you go to most restaurants, they're going to use a green pepper. I like the yellow pepper. They're a little bit sweeter, and quite frankly, I'm just not a big fan of the green pepper. So anyway, here we go. I just like to cut the seeds out, put them over there. So here we are. We're just going to chop this up. We're not going to really make a dice. We're going to cut them small, but not too small. So, and the reason why I don't want to cut them too small is because I really like the flavor that you get when you bite into a bigger piece of this yellow pepper. So, one of the things that you probably ought to know is that I'm working with a really sharp knife. I just sharpened it, and I think that if you work with a sharp knife, you're going to do a whole lot better. Number one, it's going to be a little bit faster. You don't have to work as hard. And number two, people can get hurt with a knife that is not sharp. So I say it all the time. A sharp knife is your friend. If it's dull, you're really bearing down on that knife. And ultimately what happens is if you're bearing down on it, you can make a mistake. You can push the wrong way and you can cut your finger pretty good. You don't want to do that. So just kind of keep your knife sharp. A sharp knife is your friend. The other thing that's important is that you hold the knife right. Before culinary school, I used to just have that death grip around that handle. And that's just not the way to do it. You don't have any control over the knife that way. So if you put your forefinger, your index finger, and your thumb around the edge of the blade at the very bottom of the blade or the back, okay, and then just the next 3 fingers just kind of wrap around the handle of the knife. You get so much more control. Let the knife do the work for you. You don't need to be doing the work. That's what we have good tools for. So anyway, here we go. Let's finish these off so that we can toss some in the beans, and then we'll move on to move on to the onions. So I'm going to put the bulk of these right here, okay? And I'm going to take about that, which is probably about a quarter. I'm going to, I'll maybe use that later, maybe not. So we got 2 cans, and we're going to put that in the beans. So here we go. There's those in the beans. And then let's chop up this onion. And we're going to cut this onion up in about the same size as that pepper, okay? Again, for the same reasons. So in the beans, I don't want it too small. In the picadillo, I actually want it a little bit smaller than I do for the beans. So let me get rid of this top skin, this there. Okay, so I'm just going to use those 2, and we're going to put those in the beans. I'm going to just kind of smush them up, stick them in there. It's going to add a whole lot of nice flavor to. It's going to add a lot of flavor to the beans. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my silicone spoon, and I'm going to mix this up a little bit. You know, get that flavor going. All right, so the next thing I want to do, I'm going to get back to this onion, but I want to cut up this potato. So there are some debates in the world of picadillo. And what is the debate? So what I'm doing here is I'm squaring off the potato to make it easier to cut. Okay? See that? It's got a nice squared section. And why do I do that? Well, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cube this potato up. I'm going to dice it real small. I want it small because it's going to cook faster the smaller that it is. And then the whole point of this thing is that we're going to be doing this and cooking these things, cooking our meals fast. So let's go ahead. So see, once we've done it that way, guess what? Look at the dice. Boom. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the pan for the picadillo that's going to cook in there, and I'm going to get these potatoes going because they're going to cook a little bit. They're going to take a little bit longer. And you want your pan really hot. You want to hear that sizzle when you put the food in. If you don't hear the sizzle, it's not hot enough. So make sure that you get it nice and hot. All right, so I got that. Now I want to rinse off my knife. And the reason why I want to rinse off my knife is because of the starch from the potato on the knife will kind of make it hard for you to cut other things. Okay, so we got our potatoes. Now we're going to get back to our onion. Okay, and I'm going to cut these, maybe these slices of this onion, probably about, what's that, a quarter of an inch. So we're going to do that, and then I'm not going to dice them. It's going to kind of be like a dice, but not really. So I just want pieces about half an inch, right? So that's going to be nice when we take a bite out of that. They're going to cook down anyway. All right, and here we go. We're going to do that here too. All right, so now I'm letting that, I haven't forgotten, I'm letting that pan get nice and hot, okay? And then we're going to put our potatoes in there. Oh boy, we got a rabbit onion running around. Okay, so all right, I think the pan is probably hot enough for the potatoes. So what we're doing here, we're going to use avocado oil. And the reason why we use avocado oil, the reason why I use avocado oil is because the smoke point's a little bit higher and I like my pans really hot. You can still use olive oil. It's okay. I mean, if you got it in your kitchen, use it. You know, olive oil, avocado oil, those are the only 2 that I cook with. They're better for you. I don't like using vegetable oil, but that's my personal preference. I don't think it's as healthy as using avocado oil and olive oil. So let's go over here. Oh boy! All right, so we're We're going to mix our beans. I'm going to turn this down to low and let it simmer, because this is going to be ready by the time the meat is ready. And I'm just going to put some, not too much, just a little bit of avocado oil, and I'll probably add a little bit more here in a little bit. See, here's another way that you can tell that your pan is nice and hot. When it's hot, that oil is going to move around really easily and very quickly, but it won't if it's not. So, and then here, we'll listen for the sizzle. There it is. All right. So there's the sizzle. It's going to get started. I'm going to cut the rest of this onion up that we're going to use for this dish. All right. And we're going to cut it up the same way we cut that one, about 1/4-inch slices, and then we're just going to cut them up into smaller pieces. So, you know, and so you might be wondering, well, why don't you have it, why don't you have the stuff pre-cut, you know, like some other folks that you see on TV? Well, pretty simple. I'm telling you that you can cook this in 25 minutes or less. And if I have everything pre-cut, you might not believe me. So we're going to cut it as we go. And there we are. All right. Okay. So now that we got that going, we got our potatoes going. Mix those around a little bit. Now I'm going to add my onions and my peppers. Let's do these since I already got them on the cutting board. And we're going to do these guys. And then once the onions sweat and the peppers get a little soft, we're going to add our meat and our garlic. Don't want to put the garlic in too early, because garlic tends to burn if you put it in too early. See? And I would normally be looking at the camera, but I like my fingers. So let's not cut ourselves, right? Okay, so we're getting some garlic going, we're getting it cut, and I am going to turn around and I'm going to add some of this garlic to the beans as well. It's going to be absolutely delicious, folks. I'll tell you what, it's already starting to smell. I wish I had, and I've said it before, my friends think I'm crazy, but I wish I had smell-o-vision, because this is absolutely just, the smell is it's breathtaking, it's delicious. So, and then we're going to plate this real nice, because at the end of the day, we end up eating with our eyes before we end up putting it in our mouth. So if we're going to do that, might as well make it delicious for our eyes. So I'm going to grab another spoon here, and I'm going to mix these up. And it's going to be a really simple, you know, we're just going to use some salt, pepper, and garlic. And we got 2 more. I love garlic. If you don't like garlic, get yourself checked out, because there's something wrong with you. But if you really like garlic, you can use a bunch like I do, or don't use as much. It just really depends on you, because it's your kitchen. You're doing it when you do it, and you know what you're going to eat, what your family's going to eat. I'll tell you what, guys and gals, if you make this dish for your significant other, for your husband, your spouse, your wife, whoever it may be, they're going to be happy with you, and you may not have to take out the trash. All right, so we'll put this over here, and I am going to throw some of this delicious garlic in with the beans. All right. And the onions are starting to sweat, so that's good. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Stir up those beans. Now, what am I doing here? I'm moving moving the pot over a little bit so that it only gets half the flame, because I don't want it to boil. So now that we've done that, I think that we're ready to put in our beef. Now I'm using an 85-15 blend of lean and fat ground beef, 2 pounds, and this is 100% grass-fed beef. You don't have to use that. I like to. It's a little bit healthier, so that's what I'm doing, and we're going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm putting this in. I'm putting that in. And then I'm going to wash my hands. Whenever you touch raw protein, you're going to want to wash your hands because you don't want to cross-contaminate with all the other stuff. So make sure you do that. The rice is going here. We're going to have a great dinner here shortly, and it's going to be in 15 minutes. I'm going to try, I bought this new kitchen gadget, and I'm going to try it. It's supposed to separate the ground beef a little bit. Here's what it looks like. And that's the motion used. If that doesn't work and I don't like it, I think I'll just go with my my old method. Where'd they go? Here they are. And I usually just use these bamboo spatulas, but I'm going to set them right here for now, and I'm going to try this and see how I like it. Oh, well, seems to work all right. Yeah, I actually kind of like it. That's the score. That is the second time this week that I have scored on my kitchen gadgets. I like it. So, now what do we do? All right. We're going to use in this dish, we're going to use salt, pepper, garlic. There's some garlic powder, which we'll use some of later, but we're going to use some salt. Don't be afraid, folks. Salt is flavor, but don't go crazy either. I don't want any emails saying that you had to go to the hospital because you had your blood pressure went up. And some nice fresh ground pepper. And we're going to mix our beans up a little bit. They smell delicious. I'm going to put some pepper and some salt in the beans while I'm at it. And I'm going to mix this up. And now I'm going to go ahead and incorporate the potatoes, the onions, and the peppers. So I just want to brown this up before I start putting the rest of the ingredients in. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and use one of these for the... And we'll mix up the beans a little bit more. All right, this is going to be delicious. All right, folks, let's make sure that we get everything nice and brown before we start adding the rest of the ingredients. And it's getting there. It's getting there. So earlier I started to say there's a big debate amongst Picadillo eaters. And the big debate is to potato or not to potato. You saw me cube up potato. I potato. Because I like it. If you don't like potatoes, don't put potatoes in it. It's okay. You don't need to. We're getting some starch with the rice. It'll be fine. The other big debate is raisins. Okay? To raisin or not to raisin. I choose to raisin because I like them. They're delicious. And then even amongst that, there's another debate. Do we use black raisins or do we use golden delicious raisins? I use the golden delicious raisins because I like them better. If you like the black raisins better, use the black ones. It's okay, whatever you want. And some people really love olives in their picadillo. Some people pick them out, you know. I think it adds some good flavor. And just make sure that you really drain them well. I'm not asking you to rinse them, but I want you to drain them really well because otherwise you don't want that crazy briny flavor in there. All right, so I'm going to come back over here. All right, that's looking real good. All right. So now, what comes in next? This is the Picadillo star. It wouldn't be Picadillo without it. Mojo. This is the Mojo sauce that you'll find in most Cuban restaurants. I'll tell you what, I buy this stuff by the gallon. I'll show you. This is what I use. I use La Lechonera. And this is a restaurant that used to be in Little Havana. I used to go there when I was a kid with my grandmother. They made great Cuban sandwiches. Unfortunately, it's no longer there, but they still sell the Mojo that they make. It's in my opinion, I don't have any connection with them. They're not paying me anything, but I'm telling you, that's the best Mojo there is. So we're gonna put some of that in there. We're gonna mix it around a little bit, and here we go. We got the Mojo in there. That is going to be what gives it that great Caribbean flavor, and that's what we want. All right, so we've got that in there. I'm going to go ahead and put the nice garlic in here, and then so the olives and the raisins go in last. But what I'm going to put in now is we're going to use. I got 16 ounces of tomato paste, and then I've got 8 ounces of tomato sauce. This is what we use. This is what makes the dish. So the sauce goes in first because that's easy. And I'm going to put that in here. And then I'm going to put in the 16 ounces of tomato paste. Now, do I really need 16 ounces? Maybe not. And that's okay. But I really like how it comes out. You get that rich flavor using the tomato paste. So I don't mind using a lot of it. So, the thing with the tomato paste is it takes a little bit to incorporate. So you got to make sure that you mix this up really well. And then, while I like that new kitchen gadget, I think I'm going to go back to my old, because I like the Picadillo to be a little bit more fine than these big chunks that we have here. But that's okay, it's still going to be delicious. Alright, so you see that nice change of color in that whole pan? That's that nice rich tomato paste. It's going to be wonderful. So let me mix up those beans again. Oh yeah, those are going to be delicious. All right. All right, that's looking really good. All right, we have left? We've got olives and raisins. We're going to put them both in right now. So we're going to mix this up. Oh yeah, I know. I know, it's nice and hot. Yes, it is. And by the way, if you want to talk to your pans too, I'm not going to judge you. Because I do it too. Some people say I'm a little crazy. That's all right. I'm a chef. That's what we do. And on top of that, I'm a lawyer. So I'm double crazy. But that's all right. You know what? I'm feeling a little saucy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab some wine that I opened up yesterday for another dish. It's a Chardonnay. A little bit of wine in there. It's going to loosen that up a little bit. It's going to be absolutely delicious. And all I ask you to do is make sure that you use good wine. Some people say, oh, I'm just going to cook with it. So I'll just get a cheap $2 bottle of wine. Well, if it's not a bottle of wine that you would drink, you probably don't want to use it to cook. Nothing wrong with a $2 or $3 bottle of wine. If you're willing to drink it, that's great. But you want to use good ingredients. You want to use good beef. You want to use good veggies. You want to use good wine. Because, you know, we're not using the whole bottle. So at the end of the day, you got to drink some of it too. And that'll go very nicely with the dish. So let's come back over here. Oh, yeah. So we're going to be, this is pretty much almost done. And, you know, it's going to take just a few minutes for those raisins to kind of like plump up again, because, you know, they're dried up, and because that's how raisins are. And once that happens, that's going to be ready to go. We're going to just waiting for the rice now, because the beans are pretty much ready to go too. So I mean, we're already cooking good food fast. So I'm going to toss a little bit of garlic powder in both of them, because why not? All right. And now I'm going to mix those back. You know, mix that in. Oh, yeah. You know what? These beans are done. I'm going to shut them off. And let's see how we're doing here. Yeah. So let's talk about serving and plating ideas, okay? I like to plate a little bit of rice in a nice little mound, you know, put the beans next to it in a little ramekin, you know, and then the picadillo. You know, make it look nice, make it look pretty for your family, or your spouse, your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever it is that you're cooking for. Make it look good for them. They'll appreciate it, and they'll let you know. But so here's another thing. So leftovers are great. Okay, it's kind of like pasta. It tastes better the next day. But here's what I want you to know. Another dish that you can make with this picadillo is, how about some stuffed peppers? Beautiful. So you chop the top off of the pepper, you core out the seeds, get rid of the seeds, throw them away, and then get some of this rice that's left over, and then mix up the picadillo and the rice. You know, and if you really want to get a little creative and crazy, throw in some Parmesan. Why not? You know, so you mix it up, and there's your stuffing for your pepper. Stick it in the pepper. Okay, once you get that pepper full, you can put a little layer of cheese on top. You don't have to, but you can, and that's delicious too. Then go ahead and stick it in your oven, 350, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes. Let that pepper get a little bit soft so you can now cut into it, and you can have the pepper along with the picadillo and the rice. I wouldn't put beans in there, but if you want to, hey, it's your dish when you make it at home. So I like the beans by themselves with the rice. I wouldn't put it in the stuffed pepper, but that's another way to do it. Something else you can do, you can also make tacos. It's not going to be your classic taco because it's the different seasoning, but they're going to be delicious no matter what you do. So I'm going to go mix this over a little bit one more time. Yeah, that's looking really, really good. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm going to grab a spoon over here and I'm going to taste this. Why don't you come taste it with me? Let's see. It's good. It's delicious. I'm going to wash my hands. I'll tell you what, I think while it's delicious, I think I'm going to add a little bit more flavor to it. So let's do just a touch of salt, touch of garlic powder, and a touch of black pepper, and I think it's going to be out of this world. So, well, I already know it's good. I'm just going to make it better. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, I like to use coarse kosher salt. I know how much I'm using when I use it because it comes in those bigger coarse little pieces of salt, and I think that it's easier for me to know what I put in there rather than just using regular salt. And that can, you can put way too much of the other stuff when you don't mean to. Let's mix that in. Oh yeah. This kind of reminds me, that's pretty much done. We're just waiting on the rice now. That kind of reminds me a little bit of when my mom used to make that when I was growing up. My mom didn't put the potatoes in though. She didn't like them. Or didn't like it with the potatoes, or whatever the reason was. She didn't make it with the potatoes, but I do, and that's okay. You don't have to if you don't want to. So I'm cleaning off the cutting board because I'm going to cut one more thing. All right, I got some beautiful scallions here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dice up the scallions nice and small because I'm going to use them as a garnish. I'm going to toss them over the top of the dish for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's delicious, and number two, makes the plate look pretty. So again, remember what I told you. Nice sharp knife. Let the knife do the work for you. So, just kind of rock the knife back and forth. Get a nice little dice. See there? So, your knife is sharp. Let the knife do the work for you. There's no reason why you need to be working hard. Work smarter, not harder. That's one of the things we used to say in the Army all the time. Work smarter, not harder. So, here we go. And I am only going to plate one dish because I'm the only one eating it right now. But you can very easily plate 3, 4 in a very short, quick amount of time because, the rice is really what takes the longest to cook here. Where are we at? Well, no. Yep, rice is done. So we're ready to plate. We're ready to have some dinner. Woo! All right, that's exciting. I'm really excited, folks. I really, really am. This is going to be an absolutely delicious meal. So I'm going to set my knife over there. I'm going to grab a plate. All So we got our plate here. And let's see. All right. That's where we're going to put the rice and beans, or the beans anyway. So, let's get, I'm just going to get a regular spoon so that I can mix up that rice. Oh, yeah. All right, so. All right, so when we do the rice, you're going to want to do 2 cups of water to every cup of rice that you use. You don't want to use too much water and get soggy. It'll get sticky and clumpy. You don't want to use not enough water because then it'll just burn. So whenever I plate, I always like to use the corner of the plate for the starch. You know, whether it be mashed potatoes or rice or whatever the case may be, I like to use the corner of the plate. So I start over here, boom, there it is. So we've got our dish. We lift it up. Look at that. That's absolutely beautiful. Okay, you got a nice. It's kind of hard to see the contrast with the plate. I apologize, but so we got that, and we're going to use. Oh, these beans look amazing. And then I just kind of set it right there. Boom. All right. So we got our rice, we got our beans. Now we got the star of the show. Okay? I like to use one of these same bowls because that way we're just getting the right amount. Okay? Now when I put this on the plate, it's not going to stay in such a pretty ball like the rice did. I'm going to move this so that I can put this on the plate first, and then there. Oh, look at that! It actually did kind of stay in that little ball. That's great. All right. All right. Okay. We're going to move this here. We're going to clean out the dish so it's nice and pretty. We got the rice and we got the scallions. Let it rain. Let it rain. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this, folks. Look at this dish. Look at that dish. Absolutely beautiful. And I know it's delicious, but I'll tell you what. So what I would do, and what I normally do when I eat picadillo with rice and beans, is I kind of mix it all together. You don't have to. You can eat it just like that. You can go, if you're one of these people who don't like their food touching, this is kind of how you want to serve it. But I don't mind. I throw it all together. I throw my beans on top of the rice. Look at that. Beans on top of the rice. Absolutely delicious. And then, you know, I'll sometimes just mix it all in. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try this because this looks absolutely delicious. We got some rice, we got some beans, we got some picadillo, just like my mom used to make. Delicious. Folks, I'm Dave Machado, the Lawyer Chef, helping you cook good food fast. If I can do it, you can do it. I know you can. Let's have some delicious meals. If you like this episode and you love the dish, do me a favor. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell so you get the notifications every time we put an episode up. I'm telling you what, I'm going to help you cook some great food, and I'm going to help you cook it fast. I'm Dave Machado, the Lawyer Chef, cooking good food